Hello and welcome to another episode of the Daily Remedy podcast. Today we're here with longtime friend of the show, Dr. Joseph Parker. And as you know, we just released courses on the Daily Remedy website to deal with specific aspects of health law that you, as a member of the medical community, can benefit from. And today we're here with Dr. Joseph Parker to discuss it further. Dr. Parker, tell us a little bit about why you're doing a course and what you hope to get out of it.
There is a disconnect between a physician's concept of how they will be looked at by law enforcement or even the medical board and the reality of what they will face. They're assuming sort of a benevolent benefit of the doubt when the reality is exactly the opposite. Everything they do will be turned in the most critical way possible. Every act of generosity or kindness will be portrayed as something devious and malignant. And because we don't think that way as physicians, we're compassionate people, we care about people for the most part, we're not prepared for that. We're not prepared at all. And we are actually at a bigger disadvantage than the average person. Because in order to be a good physician, you must form a bond of trust with your patient. And you have to understand that not everyone that you form that bond with, your employees, your patients, your colleagues, not all of them will honor that when they feel pressured. And you need to know what the threats are, how to recognize them, how to protect against them, and what to do in case you end up being targeted.
Well said. Dr. Parker, you and I are both going to start the inaugural courses. I feel that we are uniquely qualified given our experience and our advocacy. And what I want to do at this time is actually just go to the website itself so that the audience can then see where they can sign up for the courses. So what you would do is you'd go onto the main site, the Daily Remedy site, and you'd select the courses tab right here. And what you'll see is that there's two courses. And one is the Physician Amicus Briefs, and the other one is the Physician Awareness Network. I will be discussing the Physician Amicus Brief, and Dr. Parker will be discussing the Physician Awareness Network. And the reason why we're doing this, as opposed to just simply saying, hey, read this article, or hey, let's have this podcast, courses offer a unique benefit of creating an interactive environment where physicians and other colleagues can really learn, can interact, ask questions and whatnot. And I want to kick this question to you, Dr. Parker, because as someone who's very articulate, both in speaking and in writing, you have a unique voice. What could the participants of your course benefit from interacting with you more closely through your course?
Well, it's important to explain that I will not be telling anyone how to practice medicine. This is not a medical course. I will not be telling someone, I will not be giving legal advice. You need a certified healthcare attorney for that. I will be filling the gap in between, more of the business and operations methods of practicing in such a manner as to try to bulletproof yourself so that if they look at you, they quickly see they've got nowhere to go with this. Once you end up, even a records request is not benign. When they request records, it's because they don't quite have enough to do what they want. Okay? So it is important for you to recognize the threats when they arise, because we often don't. We have to fire someone because they do a bad job, and we don't realize that that's one of the keys to prosecuting a physician, is finding an angry employee or an employee that can be turned through other pressures, because it's very persuasive to a jury. And so understanding what these threats are, understanding what's going to make you kick up on their algorithm is very important, because the goal is to never end up in their sights. No one wins. Trial is like war, right? They see it as a game, but to those who are charged, it's not a game and you've lost. The minute you're charged and it hits the papers, you've lost. It's like being attacked by a shark. How many bites are they going to take, and are you going to be able to survive with maybe one arm and half a leg or something? Right? No one comes out of a criminal trial whole. So our goal is to educate you so that you can know what to avoid, what to spot, what to defend yourself against, and when to call for help, because that's one of the biggest mistakes doctors make. They have come to talk to me, so they just want me to explain how everything went. No, they have come to talk to you so that you will say something that they can twist, or you will make a mistake that they can turn into deception, and they've got you. The only reason they ever talk to you is because they don't yet have what they need. And you need to recognize what they're looking for and make sure that that does not exist in your record, in your practice, in your habits.
Yeah, I think many physicians find it difficult to recognize the fundamentally antagonistic relationship that regulators and prosecutors have with physicians. We often feel that, well, we do well by our patients who are active in the community, so why would they want to target us? And I think both of us, having the experience that we do, have unique insights that are really valuable to the medical community. So the course that I will be leading on developing amicus briefs highlights how exactly you would write a legal brief to submit, and known as a non-traditional amicus brief. It should be authored by people like physicians, like health policy experts, because that insight is necessary. I would go through the participants explaining, this is how you'd write a brief. This is how you'd introduce clinical data. This is how you'd file a motion for leave. So recognizing when and how to contextualize clinical data and then go through the procedural motions in order to submit the brief is something I've done for many federal cases. And in your case, writing and advocating and going through the legal system, fighting the DEA, recognizing their investigative tactics, puts you in a very unique position to help understand how they target physicians.
And let me say that if enough physicians start writing amicus briefs, if enough physicians learn that tactic and start letting their voices be heard, this whole travesty will stop. It would stop in its tracks. If a judge got 100 amicus briefs telling them this expert witness is not telling you the truth, here's the truth. Most of these people are not willfully trying to lie or do anything evil. Some of them are, but most of them are not. And almost clearly the judge is not. They just don't know. They don't understand. And they're told something by one side and they believe it. So my goal is to keep you from being targeted, to help you recognize the threats, to help you defend yourself or know when you need to defend yourself. And then at that point, that's when the attorneys take over. But there is a gap between the good practice of medicine and needing that attorney. And in that gap is a naivete that makes us a perfect target. I actually use some graphics to put a deer in a lab coat with a little stethoscope and put a reticle on him like a rifle target. That's exactly what it's like. If you come into their crosshairs, they're going to pull that trigger. Don't come into their crosshairs.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen physicians speaking to attorneys after it's quote unquote too late, after the attorney recognizes that the physician has given the prosecutors everything that they could have imagined. When you talk about it's quote unquote being too late, can you give some examples of early pitfalls that prosecutors or investigators will try to get physicians into that you can help them understand that, hey, you're already behind the curve when you get investigated. Don't do anything that would make things worse because you think you can make it better.
The problem is that we're used to fixing problems, and we think there's been a mistake. But there has been no mistake. For whatever reason, they have chosen you, and they do not back up and admit that they were wrong. Show me any big newspaper story of the federal government investigating someone and backing up saying, hey, our bad. Even Mark Hatfield, even the guy that was blamed for the anthrax attacks, they never backed up and apologized to him, even though clearly it turned out to be a CIA guy who did it. And they said, yeah, the CIA did it. But it's kind of his fault for being so squirrely. That's why we thought it was him. It's Richard Jewell, right? During the Atlanta bombing. Same thing. They never backed up and apologized to him. That's something they do not do, so do not expect that. The perfect example of how doing the right thing can destroy you that I know of is Dr. Terrence Sasaki. He was working for a company. They had his credentials. They started calling in controlled medications in his name, but they didn't have his DEA because they weren't supposed to be calling in any prescriptions. So the DEA number listed to the pharmacy said Dr. Sasaki. Well, no sane pharmacist would fill that, but the pharmacist was colluding with this group. So when he became aware of that, he went and told the DEA, and they said, come tell us all about it. So he came and told them all about it. And 2 years later, when they indicted everyone in that company, they indicted him too. And the only evidence against him was one DEA agent saying, he confessed to me. He said he took money and allowed them to send out those prescriptions. That's very powerful to a jury. And you're there saying, no, I didn't. It means nothing. What you say on your own behalf means very little. And that's why I write for other doctors too. Because me saying something on their behalf means more than them saying it on their behalf. And that's the biggest message I want to convey is that, again, there is not a single doctor that cannot be prosecuted and convicted in the current environment. And they need to know that, and they need to know what to avoid and how to protect themselves.
Well said. I want to add that, yes, these courses are going to have a nominal fee associated with it, but it's not that we're looking at this like a profit motive. We're looking at this as a means to provide additional service and time to our readers, to members of the medical community, that you need to be more proactive. And you and I, Dr. Parker, know that we can write more articles, that we can do more podcasts and get involved on more platforms. But the course is a unique environment because it gives a certain level of interactiveness that is critical in helping to galvanize physicians and the medical community as a whole. As you had alluded to, if more people were active, we can help stop the injustice against physicians. And our hope is that by having these courses, that people can then become more proactive and learn the initial steps to become better self-advocates.
Absolutely. And awareness is everything. Awareness is everything. The misapprehension, the misunderstanding, when you think you are safe and you are not, is when you are in the greatest danger. When you are aware that there is a threat and you're looking for that threat, you've prepared for that threat, and you can recognize that threat, you have a chance. When you believe you are safe and your guard is down and you think it's safe to go talk to them. Because Terry Sasaki ended up convicted based on the word of one agent. And even when the other agents in the room said, we didn't hear him say that, didn't matter. Because one agent was willing to say he did. So be aware that these people are not objectively evaluating your practice. They are looking for doctors to destroy, to make a political point, and to suppress the prescribing of controlled medications. It started with opiate. It's now moving to ADD medicines. So it's not just opioids now. They start going after ketamine. There's not that many people using it, but the ADD doctors, they're in for a very rough ride right now.
Well said. And I don't want to belabor the point too much. I think for those listening and considering these courses, recognize that Dr. Parker and I have spent years advocating for the medical community, have spent a lifetime worth of just legal tragedy to impart as wisdom, and that I hope, and I know Dr. Parker can agree with this, that no physician should have to go through what we had gone through, and that we do what we do because we recognize the magnitude of the injustice.
I spent the last 4 years evaluating these prosecutions, and there are common themes that run through them that are important to know. But nothing has shocked me more than how easy it is for them to destroy the life of a good person completely based on non-objective, non-evidence-based, persuasive innuendo. It's stunning. It's stunning.
And so, with that, please sign up for the course. You'll get enhanced access to myself, to Dr. Parker. You'll learn, but more importantly, you'll become more active and more empowered. And Dr. Parker, I'll leave you with the last words.
Yes. If enough of us speak out, this will end. Everything, Heraclitus said that the only certainty is change. If we push back hard enough, it's not too late to save a lot of our colleagues that are under serious threat right now and don't even realize they are. So please be active, learn what you need to know, and put it into action.
Well said. Look forward to seeing you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.